have each and one of you here today, this morning, to share with me this morning's devotional that the Lord has prepared for us. And I hope that your Sabbath has been a blessing, as it has been for me so far. Please let me know if my connection starts acting up, but it should be okay. Can everybody hear me? Good? Yes. Awesome. Well, today's meditation is based on Luke, the book of Luke 22, verses 24 through 26. And this is a very interesting scene because the disciples are walking with Jesus, and they start a very interesting conversation. Let's read the verse. It says, "Then they meaning the disciples, then they began to argue among themselves about who would be the greatest among them. And Jesus told them, in this world, the kings and great men lord it over their people, yet they are called friends of the people. But among you, it will be different. Those who are the greatest among you shall take the lowest rank, and the leader should be like a servant." So Jesus did not measure greatness by the number of people that he served. By the number of people that served him, but by the number of people he served. So that's how he measured greatness. The effectiveness of a servant leader, and the title of this morning's devotional is Servant Leader. The effectiveness of a servant leader is not measured by rank or position. Rather, it's measured by the legacy the leader leaves behind. All leaders should ask themselves, does my leadership cause personal and spiritual growth in others? Servant leaders submit themselves to others voluntarily and not under pressure. Jesus washed the disciples' feet. He cast out demons and even chastised the Pharisees when deemed necessary. He was a strong leader. Servant leaders give selflessly without expecting anything in return. Servant leaders seek to know the following of those they lead. What are your aspirations as a leader? What are your key motivations? How can you and I help get others from here to there? Because servant leadership embraces self-giving without self-glory. It is an ideal leadership style. So let's look at a few of the benefits and cautions of this style of leadership. Benefits of servant leadership. It's not about just one person. Many leaders focus on their best interests rather than on the needs of the many. However, servant leaders make decisions that are in the best interest of the organization as a whole rather than just one or two people. Servant leadership improves teamwork. Many of us have worked for different companies in our careers, in different environments during our careers, and we can attest that some of the work cultures are more pleasing than others. When the person at the top is a servant leader, it affects the atmosphere of the people who work there in a positive manner. It promotes retention. Members often do not know what's going on behind the scenes in an organization, but they can feel the effects of poor leadership. When members are unhappy, they pass that on to others they serve. In the same way, when members are happy and love what they do, they want to continue being part of that organization. Servant leadership promotes progress. Nothing is more disheartening than to feel that your ideas don't count. For this reason, servant leaders keep an open mind when their subordinates suggest new ways of doing things. They don't agree just for the sake of agreeing, but they genuinely consider and embrace those things that would enhance the organization as a whole. Servant leadership keeps the ego in check. In a traditional leadership role, the person in charge makes all the decisions, communicates what needs to be done, and then takes credit for the completed project. On the other hand, servant leaders give credit where credit is due to help others reach higher standards of performance. Whenever you feel like elevating yourself as a leader, remember the example of Jesus. Philippians chapter 2, verses 6 through 7 tells us that Jesus was in very nature God, yet did not consider equality with God something to be used. He did not consider equality with God as something to be used to his own advantage. Rather, he made himself nothing but taking the very nature of a servant, being made in human likeness. His mission was not to be served, but to serve and to give his life as ransom for many. So, brothers and sisters, the message is very important because our leadership will impact many lives. Our leadership is put in a pedestal as a leadership to follow. And I know that as leaders, sometimes we struggle because the enemy knows that we're doing something good. And he's going to try to bring us down. But if we keep Jesus as our main example of leadership, we will always understand that we are to serve and not to be served. But yet, in a leadership position, it is important to consider that it is through us and through the Holy Spirit that will lead our young people to the Lord's feet. My prayer this morning is that every one of us in a leadership position will understand that our first and most important endeavor is to serve others and to do it the way Jesus did. May the Lord continue blessing your leadership and your ministry in your clubs as we continue our journey to heaven. God bless.